Hi, welcome back. I'm going to talk to you in this short video about how to study. Now obviously you're engaged in doing courses just now and you actually are studying, so it might help if you have some advice from people who have, and not just me, I'm talking about other people. I've got this advice is coming from all over the place, not just from me, but how to study effectively, how to make the best use of your time, and also some tools that will help you to get to grips with the material that you're studying a lot better. The first element of studying is planning. One of the biggest problems that people have with things like studying is procrastination. You put off, you keep saying, oh well, I'll do it tomorrow, or a bit busy this week, so I'll do extra next week. And next week comes and there's another excuse and so on, and before you know it, you get to the actual exam and you're in a panic because you've done very, very little work. Okay? If you get to that stage, then you're going to find that you're not going to pass your exam at all. So you need to be quite clear about setting time aside for study on a regular basis. Now, a good way to go about this is to have some kind of diary or calendar set up where you mark down on a daily basis what you're going to study, what time at, and how long for. As I say, you can do it in different ways, calendar, diary, whatever. But the main thing is that you do have something set out and that you keep track of it and you stick to it. It's good to have a certain time of day that you do it. Back in the day when I was studying for my first exams, when there was only 3 television channels, and we had such things as favourite programmes like people have nowadays, it was very difficult to actually have a set time, because if a particular programme like Doctor Who was on, that was what you watched, okay? But then suddenly, as I got a bit older, video recorders came along and you could actually tape something and watch it later. And now we've got amazing things like, well, I don't want to mention any brand names, but there are certain satellite broadcasting companies where you can record or delay watching or watch on demand or whatever. So you don't have to be tied down to a specific time to watch something that you really like. Okay? There might be other things in your life that you don't have much control over. You might be involved in a sport or whatever, where there's certain times you have to do that. But where you can, try and make sure that you've got a set time of day for you to study. And it has to be a time when you're relaxed, when everything else is kind of out of the road, the hurly-burly of the day is finished, dinner's over with or whatever, and you're able to just sit down and know that you're going to be able to do that studying without any distractions or without worrying about something that's to come after it. Okay? So that's it. Get a set time, plan it, make sure that you're sticking to it. Another good thing to do is to review it on a weekly basis. It's quite easy to sort of slip when you've got a plan, but if you've got a review on a weekly basis where you sit down and you look back at what you've studied that week, then you'll see whether you're actually keeping to your plan or whether you're slipping quite a bit. My first set of exams, I used to draw a little chart, a little graph to show how much I'd done, and I was always quite pleased with myself if it was going up the way, and then when it dropped down a bit, it would give me that little spur to think, maybe I should do a bit more next week. And sometimes you find yourself doing that. You've done your hour and you think, I'll just do an extra half hour, that'll get me ahead of the game. That's a good way to go about it. Now, as part of your study, you should always include past paper practice in it. As I mentioned in another video, the best way to pass an exam is to study the exam. So what you want to do is make sure that on a regular basis you're doing past papers. Now, again in this other video, and I'll mention it briefly here, you do that in 2 ways. In the initial stages, when you're studying bits of the course, you're just getting into it. Then when you study a certain bit of the course, you want to go into the past papers and select the questions that are relevant to that piece of the course and practice those. You might do one in one past paper and then one in another past paper and so on. Right? As you get nearer to the exam, within maybe about 3 months of the exam, you should have much more of the course in your head. And at that point, you want to start practicing entire papers as a unit. Okay? So that has to be built into your study plan as well. there's more advice on how to actually go about doing past papers in another video, so make sure that you watch that one. Now, other little things that you might find useful in studying, you might want to look up study techniques online. There's lots of advice that you get in that. You might come across things like mind maps, which are very useful. Making lists, some people find that very useful as well. One of the key elements in any form of studying is something called rehearsing. And the way I like to put this to people is, if you are at, my day we used to call it the disco. I don't know what they call it now. Was it a rave at one time? I don't know, maybe it's moved on since then. Clubbing, I don't know. But somewhere you go to meet members of the opposite sex or members of the same sex. And there you see someone you fancy and you say to them, can I have your phone number? And they tell you their phone number. Hopefully it's the right one and not someone else's. And they give you the phone number, you don't have anywhere to write it down. So what do? You repeat it over and over again to yourself, over and over. And you keep doing that. And when you leave that particular institution where you've been enjoying yourself, you continue that until you get to the point where you're able to write it down. But what you're doing really inside your head is you're changing something from short-term memory into long-term memory. Short-term memory is where you see something or you hear something and there's a little electrical circuit set up in your brain, and that's your memory. Long-term memory is where it's converted from this little electrical circuit into actual physical changes in your brain. Your brain cells actually change shape. Okay? Now, in order to do that, you have to go through this process of rehearsing. You have to go over things and over them and over them. Much in the way that an actor, when they're learning lines for a play, will rehearse it over and over again until it becomes second nature to them, until they can rhyme something off without even thinking about it. Okay? Now, rehearsing goes along with a natural technique for learning things quickly. When you learn something for the first time, your ability to do it increases for about an hour after you've learned it. And then after that, the ability tails off. So the best thing to do, and this is what I quite often do with students that come to me for tuition, is I say to them, when you go home from here, have a go at these exact same questions again. And then tomorrow, try the same questions again. And then a few days later, try the same questions again. Same questions, right? Because what you're doing is rehearsing a technique or rehearsing a method. Okay? So try and do that yourself. When you've learned it, come back to it about an hour later, do it again. Come back to it the next day, do it again. And follow that process. Now, there's a thing called Bloom's taxonomy, which is a kind of hierarchy, a pyramid of intellectual abilities. Right at the top of that pyramid, one of the things right at the top of that pyramid is explaining what you've learned to other people, teaching other people. Right? Anyone who's a teacher, lecturer, whatever, will tell you that they really understood what they had learned the first time they tried to tell a student about it. Not only that, but they probably realised at the moment they started telling this other student that they didn't really understand it, and they had to go away and think about it again. That happened to me when I first started teaching. Suddenly realised that I didn't understand certain things, even though I'd done them at university and I'd got great marks in my exams. So that's a key element in you preparing for your exam. Talking to other people about it, telling other people about what you've learned, explaining it to them, breaking it down for them, analysing it. That's another higher order skill in Bloom's taxonomy. Okay? Now, you will have an opportunity to do that in the site that's been developed here, because there's discussion forums. Okay? Now, in that, you might see people asking questions, saying, does anyone know how to do such and such? That's for you to come in and get yourself explaining to other people how to do it. When you're doing that, you're not just helping that person out. You're being very, very selfish. You're really helping yourself out. And as a result of that, you will learn so much better. So keep up that interaction with other people. Not just with the tutors that are on the site, Okay? They'll give you information. They will tell you how to do something. And that will help. But what will really help you is when you become the tutor to someone else, when you start explaining to other people how to do it. Bear that in mind and put it into practice. Thanks for listening.